Hello and welcome to the Herdline Podcast, hosted by Trace Johnson and the Herds Headset. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode where the Headset and Trace talk all things Marshall athletics. Be sure to follow us on X and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Now, sit back, relax, and let's talk the herd.
Welcome back to the Herdline Podcast. Trace and the Herds Headset with you as we are joined by a very special guest and just simply one of the GOATs of Marshall basketball. He is number 2 in career points at Marshall. He is number 1 in most made threes. He is number 1 in most made free throws. He is number 1 in most career assists, and he is number 5 in most career steals. You already know the name. It is Jon Elmore. We are thrilled to death to have him on today because, man, he's definitely one of our favorite basketball players of all time. No question about it. So this is going to be a great conversation, and we're pumped to get into it. So, Jon, how's it going, man?
I'm good, man. Just out here in Vegas for Summer League with the Lakers, but had the opportunity to get on with y'all, and I'm excited.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's been in the works for a few weeks now. I know you reached out to me about you like the episode we had with Coach D on here, and that was a great episode. So I was, at that point, I was like, we got to get Jon on there. There's no other way to do it. Have to make that happen. So glad we got it done. So we're looking forward to this conversation for sure. We got a lot of good stuff lined up to ask you. We want to hear a lot of your opinions and takes on things. So I'll turn it over to the Herds Headset. He'll ask his first question, then I'll go and so forth, and it'll be a real cool conversation, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so Jon, thank you again, like I said, for getting on with us tonight. We really appreciate it. I know that you're a busy man. I know that you've got a lot going on right now as you are still chasing your dream, trying to get to the league. So it does mean a lot to us that you took a little bit of time out of your schedule just to be with us. And so I kind of want to start here. You come from a very deep basketball family. A lot of people may not even realize just how special in particular your father's career was. He's one of the greatest players in VMI history, 2-time Southern Conference Player of the Year. His number 33 is retired, and he's even drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks back in 1987. So growing up with a father who had that level of basketball knowledge and experience, what was that like? How many hours can you recall spending time with him, developing your game, and how much of your basketball mentality came from watching and learning from him over the years?
Man, that's a great question. So I'll even rewind that a little bit. So my dad's dad, my grandpa, played basketball at West Virginia University on scholarship back in this would have been the early 60s. So he was a freshman at West Virginia when Jerry West was a senior. And back then, that was when you had to play on the freshman team. So the freshman team would practice and scrimmage against the, quote, varsity. And he was a heck of a player. I think it was all state in West Virginia. So went to scholarship to West Virginia, and then you got my dad. So that just that family history was really everything in my development, honestly, from you could say elementary school, whatever, kindergarten, I had a ball in my hands. Every day, every opportunity there was to get in a gym or go play pickup or whatever it was involving basketball, my dad and my grandpa were there. So, I mean, every basketball memory I could think of, one of them was at the gym with me or rebounding or giving me direction. I got my brother as well, who was a scholarship guy and then played at Marshall for a little bit. Heck of a shooter. So I was always able to play up on his teams as well, which he was 2 years older. So, I mean, playing on his team, I had to find a way to be effective even at a young age. So whatever I lacked in athleticism or size or strength, had to figure it out and find a way to be effective. So there's so many family influences. I can't even describe them all, but my dad's a special one just because, how good of a player he was. I think he's super underrated, especially when you talk about the history of West Virginia basketball as a whole in the state. 2-time Southern Conference Player of the Year, jerseys in the rafters of VMI. I got to give them credit for everything. Even at this point in my life, my dad and my brother they watch every game, whether I'm overseas in the islands of Sicily and Italy, or whether I'm in the G League, whether it's a summer league game. Like, I'll have texts on my phone after the game, checking in, talking about the game, which, is pretty sweet, like, that you have that support system and those guys to rely on. And the last thing I'll say is, like, middle school was kind of one of the, like, things that stood out the most to me career wise, because it was like, all right, like, I really love basketball and that's something I want to pursue. My grandfather, I went to South Charleston Middle School, and starting in 6th grade, my brother was in 8th grade. My grandfather there's 3 courts at South Charleston Middle School outside the school, concrete, asphalt courts. And my grandfather school would start at 8:30. My grandfather would park there at like 7:15 in the morning and would have a basketball in his car. So every day of my middle school career, essentially, my grandpa, sometimes he would grab me like a Hardee's biscuit or like Susie's biscuit, and I'd have breakfast and sit in there and talk with him. And then he'd have the ball, and I'd go out there and shoot and just mess around, but also like work on my game a little bit. So that was one of the coolest memories I have. He's passed away now, and we miss him to death. But I mean, thinking back on it, like, those years and those days were instrumental to like my progression as a player, because like, how many kids in middle school are getting an opportunity to shoot for 30 minutes a day before class? So that's something that's really special. So that's a heck of a question, man. And I get emotional thinking about that, just because of how much of an impact my family has had on me.
Absolutely. And like we said, I mean, you've got a very strong basketball heritage. And I kind of have a follow-up question for you in regards to that. With such great basketball minds around you, as you started to develop your game, and like you said, in middle school time, kind of make the decision of, I really want to go after this game as maybe a potential career, at least college. Was there ever any pressure just trying to follow the footsteps of just greatness that is in your family?
You always hear those horror stories of like parents like making their kids get in the gym, or like, hey, you got to hit 150 jumpers before you eat dinner or whatever. And I have to give my mom and dad credit. I got to shout out my mom, or she'll kill me if she hears this, because my dad always gets the credit, because my mom wasn't a super athlete. But I get my IQ from my mom. Let's say that much. And they were always like, my dad and grandpa, especially, because they were in the gym with me the most. They were always great about like, if you want to be there, we'll take you and provide every opportunity, and we'll get you there, and we'll rebound for you. And if there's a tournament on the weekend, we'll pay for the hotel, we'll pay for the entry fee. Like, you'll have nice basketball shoes. Like, we will provide every opportunity that you need to be successful, if that's something that you want to do, And it was never like, hey, 150 free throws or ball handling. It's, all right, if you want to get in the gym, we got your back. Let's get in there and let's get to work. So I've got the utmost praise for them. And now that I've got 2 daughters of my own that are growing up, having my mom and dad and the grandparents I did, if I could be half the parent they were, and help half as much as they did in my development, my siblings' development, I think I'll do a heck of a job. So I got to give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, man, no doubt about it. I mean, that all the effort and all the things that were, poured into you as an upcoming player, as an up and coming rising star at the game, man, and you turned it into a college scholarship, and obviously way beyond that. So talk a little bit about my first question is, talk a little bit about, you immediately, well, you were originally going to go to VMI, where you're following your dad's footsteps there. And, talk a little bit about that transition from VMI to Marshall. I mean, I know it's kind of a, rockier one. Talk a little bit about, just because they kind of like, they didn't let you get all your playing time in and all that at the beginning. So talk a little bit about that transition, just because it's kind of a fascinating and kind of a scenario there.
So my freshman year, I did summer school at VMI. Freshman year started. Preseason had started. We were probably 3 weeks away from the season starting, like the first game. We had already started practice. I was slated, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I can't say 100% sure, but I was probably going to start point guard at VMI as a freshman, which that's pretty special. That was part of the recruiting pitch, was like, hey, we know it's military school and you've got a lot of offers, but your dad played here, your brother's here on scholarship, so like, it'll be a good situation for you. My grandfather got sick. I think it was late in the summer, beginning of the school year, and it progressively got worse. Some paralysis had set in, lower body. He wasn't able to move. Wasn't able to really function fully. And my brother and I, we talked about it. We talked about it with my family. Just we decided that it would be best to kind of help be caretakers for him for the latter months of his life. And we withdrew from school at VMI, which we hated because it ran in the family. My dad was a legend there. My brother was on scholarship there. So it was a heck of a situation. But we felt that that was the right thing to do. It ended kind of nasty. I wasn't released from my scholarship, which meant I had to go 365 days without being able to be recruited by another Division I program, which means I couldn't talk to them on the phone. They couldn't reach out to me, letters, none of that. Now, there was rumors that there was indirect contact with D'Antoni. I don't know. I don't know if coaches were calling him saying, like, hey, you ought to take this guy or give him a chance. I don't know. I can't get into that. I'm not getting any tampering allegations or violations started. But I had a feeling that it would work out. I went to a local Charleston guy who played at West Virginia for a couple of years and played at University of Charleston, Jay Hewitt. He had, I believe it was his nephew or cousin, Brett Bowling, was a walk-on at Marshall. And he said, hey, they've got a game. You want to go down and check it out? Now, this is why I wasn't in school. I wasn't enrolled anymore. So I went down. I think they were playing Concord or somebody, D'Antoni's first season in an exhibition game. And like our team looked bad. Marshall looked bad. I think that was one of his first. I mean, it was probably his first recruiting class. He just got guys in. It was early in the year, and I looked at Jay and I was like, man, I think I could play there. Like that style of play, I think personnel wise, like I think I would fit in and have a chance. So fast forward to January. I think it was January 12th, 2025. Maybe 2024. Don't quote me. I enrolled in school. I filled out my application. I filled out financial aid, all that. I got accepted. I enrolled in school, and I texted D'Antoni that morning. I got his number from Greg White, legendary Marshall guy. He gave me his number, and coach said, "I've heard about your situation. I don't know a whole lot about you, but come over to my office and meet with me." And this is the first contact I ever had with him. I've enrolled in school. It's first day of classes. It was like 7:30 in the morning. I go to his office and he's like, well, I've heard about you. He said, I got to be honest, like hadn't really seen a whole lot of film, but I'm interested. He said, I don't know our situation. You're not going to be eligible for the year, but I'd love to like talk about it. And so we talked and he was like, well, tell me about your game. And I kind of gassed it up. I was like, coach, I'm like Curry, man. Like, I'm like Steve Nash. Like I just started coming up with all these things that sounded really good. And he was like, well, there's a practice jersey over there. He said, I'll see you at 3:00. We got practice in Gullickson. So he was basically like, let's see what you got and we'll just go from there. And I got to give him credit, man. He gave me a chance. I had no clue when the ball was going to bounce again because I had started my freshman year at VMI. I was no longer enrolled at VMI. I wasn't in school anywhere. I didn't know when the next game of basketball would be. And he gave me a chance, man, and it worked out pretty well.
Yes, it did. Worked out very well.
Yeah, to say the least. How lucky can we get, honestly? Yeah, the rest is history. And so I hate that it didn't work out for you at VMI, but man, I love that it worked out here. And so
Absolutely.
It would go on to be a legendary career. But before we dive too deep into your Marshall career, I want to backtrack just one more second and talk about your high school days at GW. So, you had a really incredible career in high school. And of course, you were named Mr. Basketball. You averaged 31.4 points per game. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. So just talk a little bit about that chapter of your life as you were making the preparations to go to VMI. I mean, you were, again, not super highly recruited, but still yet you were just balling. I mean, you were. So talk a little bit about, that phase of your life and kind of what you kind of felt like almost being kind of an underdog coming out of high school?
So, my freshman and sophomore year of high school, I was at South Charleston. Had pretty good years. My brother graduated. My sophomore year, he was a senior. He graduated, and I didn't feel very happy with the situation at South Charleston. I felt like I was super under recruited. I didn't feel like I was getting the recognition from those schools. So I went to prep school my junior year in Asheville, North Carolina, a school called Christ School. If you know the Plumlee brothers that played at Duke, they went there. They had a long history of Division One guys. I think my junior year there, I think we ended up having like on the team in total, counting freshmen, sophomore, junior, and seniors. I think we had like eight plus Division One players on that one roster. So once I decided to commit to VMI, I was like, you know what, like I want to finish my senior year back home with my family because this was all boys boarding school, 5 hours away from home. You had to wear khaki pants and a button up, a blazer to class on certain days. So like it was like a real bougie boarding school. So I got that experience. I transferred to GW my senior year. Rick Green, Coach Green was the head coach. He's been there forever. I don't ever see him retiring. And I had a long history with him. He kind of, my dad coached as like the freshman coach there when I was a little kid. And then I had seen him in the gym at George Washington my whole life. He's a guy that's always been around there. And he's a high school coach that really believes that it starts at like the bitty ball level, and he makes those relationships with families. And as they climb the ladder, he's always there. So he's established that relationship going into high school. So I think he is the best high school coach in West Virginia. I mean, they won a state championship this past season, but he had a huge impact on me just um, on how to deal with people and relationships. And he's one of those guys that you have a conversation with and you leave the conversation feeling better. You know, it's just a dude that brings good energy and super genuine. So he kind of gave me that runway to have a big year. He put the ball in my hands and was like, look, we're going to do whatever we can to have the best year, but we're also going to put you in as many advantageous situations as possible. I ended up having a big year, one player of the year. We made the state tournament. We lost to Huntington High School, who I think had won like 3 championships or one after that. But no, I mean, I wish I could have went to GW all 4 years just because of my experience that last year. But very fond memories of my senior year of high school.
Yeah, man, no doubt. I'm sure I don't remember, but I'm sure that you all probably smoked Hurricane a lot because I'm a Hurricane guy, so I figure that was a no-brainer there.
They actually made the championship that year. We beat them, I think, twice during the season, and I think Huntington might have beat them in the state championship that year.
Yeah, I think you're right because I was there, and I think it was like a 2-point game or something. It was really close. Yeah, man, that was a heartbreaker. I figured I better bring that up too. But so my next question is talking a little bit about your first year at Marshall. You know, the 2015-16 season, you get there and you become eligible. I don't remember, it was mid-December or something like that. And you, at that point, the Marshall was struggling mightily at that point. They started that year 0-6. You know, they had a lot of talent, but they were just missing that one key ingredient, which was you. And you know, you get into the picture and you all go on a run, a really nice season, end up third in Conference USA. So talk a little bit about just, I mean, this is all a hypothetical situation, but we love hypotheticals on here. That's just it. But talk about a little bit, how good do you think that team could have been if you were eligible from day one? Like if you could have played every game, how good could that team have been?
Sheesh. So a lot of people don't know. So I think you were right. I think it was 0-6 or 2-8. It was I forget the exact record. I know that I got eligible for the first game. So a lot of people don't know this story. I think it was 3 days before I got cleared to play. We had to wait for grades to be submitted, and then the semester was, quote, officially over, and I got eligible. I sprained my ankle 2 or 3 days before the first game. And I'm talking, when I say sprained my ankle, it was a grade 2, grade 3 sprain, about as bad as you can get.
Wow.
Millen, I think he was trying to block a shot or something on like fast break, and I was trailing behind him, and I don't know if I either like jumped for the rebound or what, and I came down and kind of landed on Millen and sprained my ankle. And it was the worst sprain I've had. I'm 30 now, in my whole basketball career.
Wow.
And this is like 3 days before the first game, and I think we played maybe North Carolina Central, or I believe it was the HBCU that first game, and then I think West Virginia was the second game. And I remember for over half of those games I was eligible that first year, I was in pain. Like, we played in Vegas 2 games after that, and I just felt like I didn't have my speed. I was hobbling. And then it took about, I don't know, it was like 15 plus games before I felt like I got healthy.
Wow.
But you talk about that team. You had James Kelly, who was just an absolute freak. I mean, I think he had one of the best single seasons we've ever seen, and I think he's one of the best athletes I've ever played with. And you just think about if you had more time, like more time to gel. You always wish you had more games because you don't want it to end the way it did. But we did have a heck of a run, and I think people don't realize how good that conference was. I know it's all the realignment and everything's TV rights and media deals and all that now, but like when you talk about peak Conference USA, those like last couple years I was there, the Western Kentuckys, the Old Dominions, UAB was a powerhouse. La Tech was a powerhouse. I mean, I'm probably forgetting some because it felt like every game was a gauntlet. That year was really cool just because it showed me like, all right, like this is really high level basketball. And I think that was like when people started giving D'Antoni and giving Marshall some respect, because that first year was pretty rocky. He didn't really have all his guys. There were some hangover guys from Harrian's last year's. He was trying to get his style in, but the personnel didn't totally fit his style and his scheme. So like I think everybody kind of was like, "Dang, I don't know if we really believe in Coach D'Antoni's system and his style," just based off that first year, which everybody wants that win now focus. But I think Coach D'Antoni preached like just stick with it, like we'll figure it out. And I think as the year went on, we figured it out. The next year, I don't think we finished as high, but I think we made the conference championship game. And then, the next year we won the conference championship game. So, yeah, but that was a heck of a team. And it was really super memorable because it was like, all right, I think there is the capability to do something special here.
Absolutely. And, I remember that it was like the light at the end of the tunnel because we had been in a position for about 3 years where Marshall basketball just was not to the point where, I mean, you get the support of all the city of Huntington and whatnot. So it was great. And I remember kind of, following up on Trace's question there, my dad especially, he was like, man, this kid Jon Elmore, like he's different. He's somebody that's like he can change the program, and you absolutely did. And a big reason as to why you were so successful goes back to, of course, your head coach Dan D'Antoni. Coach D'Antoni is one of the most interesting people in the world, in my personal opinion. And he ushered in what we lovingly know as Danalytics and hillbilly ball and all of that other good stuff. And really, it was tailor-made specifically for your game. And so just talk a little bit about just playing for D'Antoni and that style and the up-tempo, exciting nature that we were able to see all the time in the Cam Henderson Center.
No, I mean, you hear the term match made in heaven. I don't think I could have went to a better situation on the court or off the court. And based off the way it works out, hindsight's 2020, but like it worked out the way it was supposed to. And I mean, stylistically, I'm a run and gun, pick and roll running shoot the first decent shot. We're going to score 100 some points. I remember my wife used to get fired up. It's bow time when I think we would score like 90 and Mike Kirtner would yell, it's bow time. Like we still talk about that till the day when we drive by a Bojangles, we get fired up. But I mean, everybody, I worked hard on my game and like I really grinded and put a lot into it, but like I owe him a lot. And every time I see him, I'm like, Coach, man, thank you. We have a really strong relationship even now. Like he still watches games. Saw him a couple weeks ago at the cam. We were playing pickup. I text him. I'm like, hey, Coach, some of the old heads are coming down to play pickup with the new squad. If you want to come over. And sure enough, he comes over. And I mean, like we hadn't skipped a beat. I probably hadn't seen him in a year, but I mean, it was just like still my senior year, and he was coaching me up on the sidelines, firing jabs at me. I missed a shot, and he was like, "Come on, John, you gonna make one today?" So I, like you said, I mean, he started a little rough. I know the ending wasn't what most of us wanted. I wish it could have gone a little different way or ended a little differently. But what he did for the program and the city and the school and the brand, I mean, I've got the utmost respect for him and couldn't have asked for a better coach that basically was tailor-made for how I wanted to play. I'll give you one funny D'Antoni story. My freshman year, and this is before the honeymoon stage and before I'll give him all the praise. I just got there. I just got eligible. And I think he might have told this story. He's so old. I think he told it wrong. We were playing in I don't know if y'all remember, we played in this little Vegas showcase my freshman year. We beat Wyoming, tough game. We're playing at the Thomas and Mack UNLV's like practice facility gym. We're playing Grand Canyon, and Dan Marley is the coach of Grand Canyon. And evidently there's something there with Coach Dan and Dan Marley because Dan Marley was a Phoenix Sun back in the day, and I don't think he played for the Suns, and then I don't necessarily think he was like super high on the D'Antoni system when Mike was the coach. So I don't know. It was a little rocky, but I know Coach Dan wanted to win that game really, really bad. And it's late in the game. I think we're down maybe one or something, and we call timeout. Coach D'Antoni draws up a play, and it's like we're going to run a cross screen action for James Kelly, and we're going to hit him like on the block or like the dunker spot. And like, he's going to put the guy in the basket, basically. Like he's just going to bully the dude and shoot a layup. And we ran the play and the clock was ticking and everybody's fired up in the moment. Like we got to have this basket to win the game. And the ball got swung and I was supposed to make the entry pass to James. And I felt like the guy on me kind of thought that we were throwing it in the post. So like when I caught it, I felt like he kind of backed up to take away the post pass. Now, I've heard from other sources he didn't back up. I don't know. But in the moment, I was kind of thinking the guy backed off of me a little bit. And I fired the three. And I doinked it. I didn't make it. And we lost the game. And we're in the handshake line, and I hear somebody yelling at me. And it's like Coach Dan's evidently like screaming at me. And we get in the locker room. And now we're like face to face in the locker room. I'm sitting down, and he's at the whiteboard looking at us. He turns around and he punches the whiteboard, and I think his hand started bleeding. So we're all kind of like, "Damn, what the hell? This guy's crazy." And he's like, "John, if you ever do that again, you'll never play another second at Marshall University." I mean, he's ripping me, and he was like, "If I was your age, we'd be squaring up fighting right now." And I'm like, holy shit, this dude is nuts, man. Like, maybe I made the wrong play. And I'm like, this dude's like really talking about like wanting to fight and beat me up. Now, like, I like my chances because I'm a little taller than Coach Stan, but like, he's scrappy, he's got heart. So like, you never know. A fight could have been a toss-up.
Yep.
And my mom is at the game, and I think she heard the yelling. And after the game, I go out and see it. She's like, "What was that? What was going on? Blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Mom, I might have to transfer. Like, this might not be the spot for me, Like, Mom, I mean, I just had like the most intense altercation with a head coach, and he basically said he was going to try to whoop my ass if we were the same age. And like, I'm rattled. This is my freshman year. Like, I don't really know him that well yet. We've got a solid relationship, but I'm like, literally, we go to the airport later that day or the next morning, and I'm walking around by myself thinking, like, dude, I might have to transfer. Like, I just got here. Like, I really want this to work out. But based off of what just happened, like, it's over. And it wasn't 15 minutes after we were in the airport, he came and I'm walking. And I think I like looked like I just lost a dog, like sad puppy walking around. And he came over and he put his arm on me and he was like, John, I want you to know why I was so upset. I thought the read was open. And I explained, like, Coach, I thought I had the shot, but maybe I was wrong. And he was like, just know we're good. Let's move forward. And our relationship couldn't have bloomed or blossomed or whatever you want to call it more after that moment. Cause it was like, all right, man, we hit adversity. We cussed at each other. We fought, but let's rally and keep it moving. And that's a super special moment.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I mean, what are they? He doesn't seem like a guy that usually gets that fired up either. So that seemed a little bit out of character almost.
I'm talking that was the most mad I've ever seen him. Like
Wow.
From that moment, before that moment, after that moment, years later, he punched the whiteboard. His hand was bleeding. He said,
man.
if me and you were the same age, we'd be back there fighting right now. And I'm like, holy cow, I'm only 18, 19 years old. I'm like, damn, this 60-year-old man is like ready to tussle. Like, I'm ready. He might have been 70 at the time. I don't know. But I was rattled in that moment.
I bet. I mean, you got to watch out for those Southern West Virginians, man. I mean, you better watch out for them. So my next question is, you mentioned it a minute ago, talking about your second year, I guess, would have been your second year. You all get to the Conference USA tournament final against Middle Tennessee and gave them a heck of a game. And that was when Middle Tennessee was rolling like nobody's business. They were on fire, one of the top mid-majors in the country. Y'all played them right down to the wire. They just kind of had a little bit more, I don't know, maybe size at that point. I don't know exactly what it was. It was a close game, very good game. So what did you all learn at that point? What did you learn from that game and that experience and all the emotions that went into losing that game at that point? How did that help translate to the next year where you all get over the hump against Western Kentucky? How big of a factor was that Middle Tennessee game?
I remember after the game, we were just kind of watching them celebrate and confetti flying everywhere and them holding the trophy up. And like, we were all just shocked. Like, you make it that far and you see the light at the end of the tunnel and every kid's dream is, hey, we're going to go dancing. We're going to be a Cinderella story. I mean, that's what you play college ball for, is to make the NCAA tournament, especially at a mid-major. You want to be the Steph Curry. You want to be the Jimmer Fredette. You want to be those guys that make a run and make noise at a lesser-known school. And like you said, Middle Tennessee was just a powerhouse. I mean, they had, I believe that was the year they had Ja'Cory Williams and Reggie Upshaw and Giddy Potts. I mean, I can go down the list of, they're good players, and most of them are still playing professionally overseas. I just remember how bad that hurt, because it was like my wife, like we were dating at the time, and her and my best friend and his girlfriend were like, hey, if y'all make the championship, we're driving down for the game. And they drove all the way to Birmingham, and we're like, y'all better drive down. We're in the championship. And it was a huge letdown, because I think I played a horrendous game. I think Loop and I think Stevie played well. Ryan Taylor was out there. Heck of a player. I got to give Ryan a shout out, because I think he's a super underrated player in Marshall's history. He's on staff there now, which I'm super happy for him. But that one hurt, man, because like you're so close to dancing. And I remember standing there, I think CJ Burks was beside me, and like we're just standing there like, we can't ever let that happen again. So winning it right after that was super special.
Yeah, I bet. And talk more about that, the greatest season of Marshall basketball in all of our history. You're the leader of that team. You won just in dramatic fashion. We fondly remember that game as the game, right? That Western Kentucky championship game. It was just right down to the wire, just a legendary moment. You go on and you're able to make that Cinderella run in the NCAA tournament. You play Wichita State, shock the shockers. Just a fantastic moment, and fans celebrated all over Huntington. And there was so much hype around the program at the time. But what was it like just in the locker room, and especially with you? Like I said, you're the leader of that team. So what was kind of running through your mind throughout that entire season? And when did you know, like we've got a legitimate shot of doing this?
So, we get down to Frisco, and it was a weird setup down there because they had two courts on a football field at an indoor football arena. So, like, walking in from the jump, I'm like, dude, this got a weird feel to it. I think we had like a shoot around or practice the day before. And you've got the curtain, and then you've got the other court going on. So from the jump, it was like, dude, something's different about this place. We got out of Birmingham where we lost back-to-back years. My freshman year, I think, I don't know, Old Dominion maybe beat us. Old Dominion or La Tech, one of them beat us my freshman year, and then Middle beat us in Birmingham the second year. So I was glad to have a new location. And then I think it was 4 games, or we won 3 games to win it all.
Yeah.
And fast forward to the Western Kentucky game, and it just seems like everything's going right for us. I feel like I hit a couple crazy shots. Jared was playing well. Jansen was playing well. CJ was obviously always doing his thing. And then Rondell, I don't think Rondell gets enough credit because that's a guy that came off the bench and just did whatever it took to win a basketball game, whether that was diving on the floor, whether we needed to score. So we had so many pieces. Dean, I can't forget about nation's leading shot blocker. We had so many pieces and so many guys that were capable of doing different things. So we're in that Western game, and I think it was like 5-point game at one point, I feel like, and starting to get late in the game. And I think I cooled off because I don't know if I scored like the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. And 1-point game, we're up. Western has the ball, and I think it was a jump ball, if I recall right, and they got the ball. And no, we got the jump ball. All right, rewind. Lamonte Bearden for Western Kentucky shoots the floater.
Yep.
And this is late in the game. And I'm watching the ball in the air, the flight of the ball. And I swear on everything, I thought the ball went in the basket. Because if you watch in slow motion, the ball like goes in the cylinder, rolls around, bounces out. I think Jansen grabbed the rebound. It was a jump ball. And I have no idea, because that was probably the game if he makes that floater. They're up 1, limited time on the clock. Jansen grabs the rebound. I think it was a jump ball. Possession arrow, our ball. We take it out, throw it around, hot potato, game over. And I was just in shock, man, because I'm like, oh, this is the greatest feeling in the world. Like, I'm jumping around, just looking around. Everybody's running over to the pile, and like I can't even think straight. No, that was by far my favorite memory of my career there, because it was such an adrenaline rush and such a high that, like, we didn't sleep that night because we had flights. Everybody had to book flights to get back to Huntington for Selection Sunday. And the way the flights were set up, it was like 4 a.m. bus to the airport. And we were on a couple different flights because we had to get out of there as fast as possible. Well, that night turned out to be a daylight savings time where you also lost an hour. So the clock fast forwarded. So by the time we got to the hotel, it was like 11:30. And by the time I got to my room, it was like midnight. Well, then the clock jumped forward an hour. It's 1 a.m. and like haven't even like got in bed yet. And then I'm like, I haven't packed. So I didn't sleep all night. We go to the airport in Dallas. We fly to Charleston. Like half of us were on a flight to Charleston. We bus back to Huntington. I get there, I want to say it was like 12:30 in the afternoon. The selection show was at 5 or whatever time. So by the time I got to my apartment in Huntington, it was like 1:45. I had to be at the cam at 5. I hadn't slept since way before the Western game. And I'm going into Selection Sunday. I've got the net still around my neck from the from cutting down the neck.
Yeah.
I don't think I had showered in like 36 hours. And I'm still like, dude, I'm tired as heck, but this is the greatest feeling in the world. And then, I mean, I don't know if y'all were there or not, just seeing our name pop up on SportsCenter on ESPN, getting that matchup, and everybody standing up. And I probably stunk at the time, and I still got the net on me, and you can see it in the pictures. But like, it's those memories that like I'll carry with me forever.
Oh man, no kidding. I mean, you talked about not getting any sleep for the reasons that you all didn't get any sleep. Well, I didn't get any sleep that night because I was so excited. I mean, literally, I don't know. I probably only got a couple hours, if that, of sleep. I was absolutely just beyond excited. I mean, that might still be the Western game. That might still be I don't know, maybe my all-time favorite Marshall moment. Like it is up there. It was absolutely just special stuff.
And I think they beat us twice during the season, if I remember right. So, that's that old coach's adage of it's hard to beat a team 3 times. That couldn't have been more true in that moment.
Absolutely. And they were a heck of a team at that point. They had a lot of great players, great talent. And yes, that was an amazing win, amazing moment. So my next question is a two-parter because we've been spending a little bit of time talking about the Western game and, the Wichita State game. So it's a two-part question. First part, talk about the second half, your second half against Western Kentucky, because I've never seen anybody go berserk like that in my life for Marshall basketball ever. So that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, I just want to hear your perspective on the scores table 3 against Wichita that totally flipped that game, because that's one of the best moments in Marshall history as far as I'm concerned. So I want to hear a little bit about those two things.
So second half of the Western Kentucky game, I don't think I had a great first half. I think I might have had like 5 or 7 points. And this kind of goes into the Wichita State game. I've found like throughout my basketball career, and like you hear people talk about it, like you get in this quote flow state where it's just like you're a little kid at the park and you're just throwing everything up and it's going in. And that's how I felt against Western, because I felt like I hit it just a couple crazy step backs. I think one 3 I hit was like a double clutch 3. There's still a picture I have that I hit a 3. Mike D'Antoni is on the sideline. The Rockets were playing in Dallas, and him and some of his staff came to the game. And I hit a 3, and I feel like I was leaning, and I had like elevated like crazy, way more than I usually have. But there's a nice like still photo of me shooting, and I'm just like, I don't know how that went in. And it was just one of those like days at the park where you grow up as a kid and you're going 3, 2, 1 and throwing up a game winner. And you just get in that flow state where you're not even thinking about it. And I think this probably happened to me a lot, where I didn't necessarily have the best filter on some of the shot selections I had. But like when you get in a zone like that, you're like, dude, I'll pull from half court. Like I fully am confident, and I think I've put enough work in that I'm going to have success. So that's what happened. And it's basically the same thing in the Wichita game. There was a couple shots that I think I blacked out in the moment, because the one that you're talking about from the hash, I think it was like a kick out. Like I think Jared maybe kicked it to Jansen, and then Jansen kicked it out to me, and I caught it at the hash and fired it. And I like remember when I shot it, Jared was in the corner, and I think he kind of threw his hands up like, what the hell are you doing? Like, because it was a crucial point of the game, and like I just fired a heat check from 40 feet, and like I remember like I see him and his hands are up in the air like, oh, and then all of a sudden it went in, and he's like, yeah, let's go. And like I was like, hey bro, chill, I got it, man, like let's stay together. But it's just one of those zones you get in. I think like there was like an out of bounds play, and we were at the end of the shot clock, and I took a 1 dribble sidestep, essentially like threw it over my shoulder shot, and I don't think I put any arch on it whatsoever, and it just came out of the bottom of the net, and everybody went crazy. And I mean, those are the moments you live for, and those are the moments you practice for. So like when that big shot and that big opportunity presented itself, I felt like I was capable of making the most of that situation. There's a little bit of luck involved here and there, but like you feel like, hey, these are the shots we practice every day in practice when you do player development and skill work, so that when you get in the game, like it's just another day of practice, honestly. So, and incredible memories, man. I get emotional and I get fired up. You got me ready to run through a wall, man, just thinking
Yeah.
about those games because I mean those that's stuff you dream about as a kid.
You no doubt had some incredible moments playing basketball here, but one thing that I find very interesting about your career is that you also hold the most romantic moment in all of Cam Henderson's
Yeah.
history. Before your final regular season game at the Cam, you proposed to your now wife in front of everybody, and then you just preceded that by dropping 16 points and 10 rebounds, just a double-double afterwards. Take us back to that day. How did you decide that was the moment that you were going to propose? And what does that memory still mean to you and your wife today?
Dude, thank you for this because I haven't mentioned my wife yet a whole lot, and she's probably going to listen. And she was like, "Dang, I can't get it mentioned. There's some credit." Um, but it was one of those things we had talked about before, and I've found that in this life, when you know, and that was something that I decided, like, hey, this is somebody I want by my side forever. And I am still fully confident in that decision because she is the best possible wife I could have ever imagined. And what's like super crazy to think about and like such a blessing is as good of a wife as she is, she's an even better mom. So let's go back to senior night. We had talked about it and I had planned it out with my parents. Dude, I was kind of broke. This is before the time of NIL and all that. Like, we got our town checks for rent and like for our food stipend stuff, but like wasn't really living very lavish because we couldn't make any money, or you'd get banned from by the NCAA for accepting a hot dog from a donor. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't get a cheeseburger at a restaurant without getting suspended. So it's like it wasn't like we were living super nice, but I mean, I met with my mom and I was like, "Hey, mom, like, I want to get Tori a ring and I want to propose on senior night." And my mom put up the money and we set up a payment plan where I would pay her back, and decided that, like, hey, I think this is something I want to do. So I met with one of the social guys for Marshall, like, athletic department, and we made a little video to put on the Jumbotron. And I was like, hey, they're going to be out there with me and we're going to be under the Jumbotron. So, like, won't be able to see the video. So let's play it off like nothing's going to happen, because she had no clue. I was like, let's play it off like nothing's going to happen and just have them walk off the court and just keep it moving. And they walk off the court and they're on the baseline. And I don't know if the lights were dimmed or not, but that video comes on the Jumbotron and you see pictures. Like, I still have pictures on my phone of her just looking up, covering her mouth because she's listening to the Jumbotron video. And so I'm on one knee at half court. My best friend, Marcus Reed, I believe, gave me the ring. He wasn't on the team that year. He had just graduated. He was on the team the previous year. He had the ring with him. So I run over to the bench while she's watching the video. He hands me the ring. I'm at half court, and I get down on one knee, and she walks out, and I think I like blacked out because I don't know if I even asked, "Will you marry me?" Like, it was just like, "Hey, like, here's the ring,"
Yeah.
and I guess she said yes. I don't even remember because I was just geeking out. Like, I'm talking, I was shaking, and I pull the ring out and I go to put it on her finger, and my hand is like this, like she like grabs my hand and like helps me put it on her finger, but I'm just, so the adrenaline rush was just, and thankfully she said yes, because if she said no, like, we might not have been able to play the game. Like, we might have just had to call timeout, like, sub.
Yeah.
So she said yes, which has been the greatest decision ever. But one negative part about that is I started the game 0 for 5. And I think I had like an air ball or two and like a couple turnovers. And I'm like, yo, this is the worst thing ever, because like I can't even focus on the game. I'm like geeking out about it. I just got engaged.
Yeah.
But my nerves were shot. Like, I was moving 1,000 miles an hour. Like, my shot felt like I had no chance. And like eventually I was able to settle in and have a pretty good game. But like when I hit 0 for 5 with an air ball, I'm like, maybe this is a sign that like something, did I do something wrong? I don't know. And but we were able to turn it around. We were able to win. We had a heck of a night. That might have been a night where we ended up at the Union with the legendary Herb throwing some Southern bells down. But man, that's a great memory.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really funny that you mentioned that, because whenever I proposed to my wife, I don't think I even asked either. I think I just was down, and like, I don't know what, like, because she's like, you didn't even ask. I'm like, well, I mean, you took it, didn't you? You know,
Right.
So it's the similar situation. It's just funny how that worked out. But
oh, one more thing I forgot to add in. It's before the game, and I think one of the athletic directors or one of the Marshall staffers, we were playing FAU, and Dusty May was the head coach of the FAU.
yeah,
Speaking of Dusty May, who's just absolutely boomed since that moment. I think my engagement might have propelled his career. I don't know. But he
you're right.
came up to me before the game and he was like, "Hey, they told me everything about what's going to go down. Like, I'm going to have my guys stay back, so we're not in the way. But like, I just want to tell you congratulations and like really happy for y'all." And like that was a really cool moment because like, yeah, it interrupted the pregame activities a little bit, but like having him come over and be like, "Hey, like, congrats, we're going to stay out of your way, like go for it." And now you see Dusty May winning the national championship and having all that success at FAU and now coaching the Dallas Mavericks. So I like to think there was some part I played in that success.
Absolutely. I think that's confirmed right there. I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah, that's a pretty awesome moment right there, getting to talk to a future national champion coach there, and then obviously NBA coach now. So that's pretty awesome. So I wanted to ask a little bit about, and you mentioned a couple of them earlier, just some of the, you all had some great teams when you were there at Marshall, but some of the most unsung heroes of those teams. I think you mentioned Rondell Watson. Coach D said the same thing. He mentioned him immediately. Just talk about some of those guys that, don't necessarily get as much attention as like you or CJ or Penova or any of those guys. Some of the unsung heroes of those teams.
Sheesh, that's a great one because there was a lot of them. I mean, you go back to like my freshman year, you think about Austin Loop. I mean, that's one of the best shooters I've ever played with till this day. Fast forward to the next year, and that was the year with James. And then you go the next year, you had Loop was back, but then Stevie really like came on, and then Ryan. And those are two of my best friends in the world to this day. So like, I gotta give them credit just because I know what type of people they are, but I also value how truly good basketball players they were. I mean, Stevie's ability to get buckets and make those highlight plays. He shot a really good percentage from three. And then Ryan was the Swiss Army knife who could play the center or could also play point guard and bring the ball up and play out of pick and rolls. So I think that's one of the biggest things that made my memories there so special was like the relationships I was able to develop with some of those guys because like not only did Coach Dan find some like true gems, he found like hellacious people, like dudes that you're like, man, like that's a hell of a guy, like Stevie was my roommate at Marshall, still one of my best friends to this day. So those are some underrated guys from that year. And then you go to the junior year, you talk about Rondell coming off the bench. You talk about Jansen becoming that spark plug. He was hitting threes, catching lobs. Adine leading the nation in block shots. CJ, one of the top 5 all-time leading scorers. Rondell had to sit out a little bit. He was ineligible, but then, I mean, he was a guy that just played winning basketball. I mean, I don't know if Rondell caught some like drawn up backdoor lob plays, but like, I don't know if we ever drew up a play for Rondell, It was just like, hey, go out there and just be effective. And like, his niche was playing winning basketball, hitting an open shot, catching and ripping a guy on a closeout, getting to the lane, dunking. Like when you have a guy that never requires a play and still puts up good numbers and still contributes to winning, like I think that's super valuable because you don't see that a lot. Everybody wants to have the ball, or everybody wants the play designed to be drawn up for them. So I got to give Rondell credit. And then Jared West, what he was able to do from a defensive standpoint from the day he enrolled in school, But then it was also like, people don't understand, like Jared almost played the 3 position for us as a 6 foot. I'll give Jared 6 foot. I don't know if he's 6 foot, but like essentially he played the 3-man for us. Like he spotted up in the corner, like he ran some pick and rolls, but like me and CJ had the ball most of the time. He picked up the other guard 94 feet and hounded him, and he played winning basketball. Now, like Jared's a point guard and like has probably handled the ball his whole life up until that point, but like he did whatever was required of him to get on the floor, and he started as a freshman. So like I'm very high on like how he contributed and like his attitude he had and his approach every day. And that's a guy that's gonna show up, and you call it work. You show up to work every day and like contribute and leave it all out there. Like that was him. So I got to give him credit. I mean, you know how good and talented CJ was. So like, I'm not going to say he was a undervalued guy, but like we had so many pieces that I don't think got the recognition because maybe they didn't average the most or lead in the statistical category. But when you talk about winning basketball, I think we had a lot of guys that contributed to that.
No doubt. And even with a lot of these guys that you had mentioned, it would not even be the last that we would see of them just whenever their Marshall career would be done because of the TBT tournament. And, you played a huge role in helping organize the team, kind of get, a team together to make sure that Marshall alumni was well represented. And man, just some all-time moments came from those teams. You would go crazy, hit shots that just didn't make sense. Your brother has my favorite quote of all time, saying that those guys play in the NBA, I play at the YMCA.
Yeah.
And just a really awesome thing that we would look forward to every single season, really in the summertime. So tell us a little bit about some of your favorite TBT memories.
That is a good one. Since I've got some like really good relationships with some of the West Virginia players now that I probably didn't at the time, and like fan bases hate each other, all that, I'd say beating West Virginia's team in Wheeling, and I hit the game winner to send them home. That was pretty special, just because it's we always mess with each other. It's all fun. It's a summer tournament, but the TBT it was super special because it gave us a chance all to get back together. Like Stevie played professionally a few years overseas. Ryan played overseas a little bit. James Kelly played a year or two. He played overseas a little bit, but it was guys that you wouldn't see anymore, or you wouldn't see as often. Getting back in the gym together and going to battle. Because I say all the time, like once you take off the Marshall jersey, like most of the time you never get to play for the school or represent the school again. And that was a chance. And I got to give credit to my brother because he was the one that like really spearheaded and came up with the idea and set it up. And it gave us a chance to all get back together and compete. Having $1 million on the table, that's some initiative in itself. But also, like, I'm a big journey guy. You don't always worry about the destination. Like, getting to go on a journey with them again. And like you said, like a lot of people enjoyed watching it and seeing these guys that you hadn't seen in a couple of years. Or, some people were like, "Damn, I didn't even know that guy still played ball." Like, most people, like once they graduate and move on, people don't really get a chance to follow them or see what they do anymore. So having a chance to kind of put the Marshall brand on the national stage and get the guys together. I know we had a lot of outsiders, but I felt like we got guys that could fit into the Marshall system. And we got a lot of guys that I wish we could have had at Marshall at the time when I was playing. But it was a super high level tournament, and I don't think people realize like how high level the basketball was because you're dealing with a lot of guys that maybe you saw in college, but now that they're 5, 6, 7 years removed, they've gotten stronger, gotten a lot better, developed their game as professionals. So it was a super high level tournament. I'm sad that we're not in it this upcoming year, but it was really cool. And that one year we made the Final Four. And I think we absolutely laid an egg in that Final Four game because I think we were the better team and I think we were the best team left. So that stings thinking about we might have left $1 million on the table just because we had one bad game. But, that's the beauty of that tournament. It's single elimination and you either win the whole thing or you go home empty handed. But that was a heck of a run. But man, that one hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I had a ball watching those games over the years. I mean, I remember going to so many of those games in 2021 when it was in Charleston and all that, and it was great. I remember the beating Floyd Mayweather's team in 2020 was pretty epic. I mean, yeah, I heard that so much, and that run y'all went on was awesome that year. Just came up a little bit short, but it was great moment for sure, and great exposure for Marshall. I agree with that as well. So I think I just have one more question. Herd's heads up, but he'll probably ask you another one. But I think I just got one more to ask you. Well, actually, maybe two, but we'll just start with one. Well, so talk a little bit about your playing experience with the G League, the Summer League, overseas, all that kind of stuff. Talk a little bit about what that's done for you as a player, and just some of your favorite moments maybe from over those times when you've been playing.
Okay, so I started my rookie year in Italy, which was a heck of an experience. From a basketball side of things, it was one of my roughest years ever because I went from the D'Antoni system to, if you know European basketball, it's a little more strategical, slower paced. There's no 3 seconds in the lane, so like super physical, pack the paint. And we were running like flex offense. And if you know flex offense, it's pass, cut, back screen, rip screen. Super like, hey, we're going to throw the ball in the paint, play out of that. And it was like my real first adjustment period because I had to learn a different system. I played the D'Antoni system for 4 years straight. And like, I'm like, all right, I got a pretty good feel for this. And then I got thrown into the fire and playing something else and didn't have as much freedom. And it was like, all right, like I got to adjust and learn and be able to insert myself in any system and be effective if this is something that I want to do. So I felt like I started to get it a little bit. And then boom, COVID shut the season down. Second year, I'm going into my second year and I don't have great numbers. I don't have great film. And COVID just happened. So like I almost have to start over. And basically wasted a rookie year just because it got shut down. So I go to Greece, sign a 1-month deal in Greece, play okay, go to Hungary, got paid a little bit more money, played better. So I'm going into year 3 and I'm like, man, like, I don't feel like I'm kind of stalling out. Like I got to do something. I go to Lithuania and had my best year I'd had in the 3 years. I ended up making first team all league. And I like really learned about myself, like what I wanted to do. And I was like, man, like I like European basketball. It's been a really cool experience living over here, but it's 10 months out of the year. And my wife and daughter were with me. And I'm thinking like, my wife's not really happy because she's working remotely. She's working 3 in the afternoon until like midnight. And then my daughter's not able to see my parents, her grandparents. And then Tori's not able to see her family for 10 months of the year. And we just talked about it. And I talked to my agent. I'm like, hey, man, like, I would love the opportunity to try to get back to the States and try to play there. So he called around and he ended up talking with the Miami Heat, and they kind of followed me a little bit. And I had worked out with them in my pre-draft process before I graduated. And they were like, you know what? We're interested. He had a good year. We can't do a whole lot right now because it's kind of a dead period. The summer league had just ended, but they were like, we've got some of our guys that we've got signed, some of our young guys coming in. If Jon wants to come down, he's welcome to come down and basically work out for, I think it was a week. And they were like, but we can't pay for it. And I'm talking with my dad, my mom, and my wife, and I'm like, dude, this is a lot of money to fly to Miami and stay downtown for a week. But like, how many chances am I going to really have to try to make it to the NBA? I've been overseas 3 years. I've stalled out on the NBA and the USA side. So like, this is really my opportunity. So we pay for it to go down there. And I had a great week. Like I'm talking junk. I'm hitting shots. Like I'm talking smack. Some of their team guys like that they have on contract are in the workouts, but then a lot of them are like guys that they just signed for like the G League or whatever. And I'm like, I left one of the workouts and I'm sitting in the cold tub or the cold tub at the Miami Heat practice facility. And I'm like, dude, this is the greatest place in the world, man. Like I'm in an NBA facility, like using their stuff. And I just had a great workout and Pat Riley's sitting over there and Spoelstra's sitting over there. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't know if like why I never pursued the G League or the whatever to try to keep grinding. And maybe the opportunity wasn't there. But like once I got my first like action there, I was like, dude, you know what? Like, I'm going for it. And the week ended and I was packing up my suitcase and I was booking my flight to fly back home. It was like Thursday or Friday, and they're like, where you headed? And I was like, well, I talked to my agent and I'm flying back home. And they're like, well, would you want to stay longer and keep going? And I was like, hell yes, I would. Like, I'd kill to stay here. And ended up staying in Miami for like a month and a half, working out at their facility every day with their team. And that like got me really good momentum. I got offered an Exhibit 10 contract to stay in the G League in their system. They ended up paying for my hotels and my flights after that. So that little investment in myself kind of opened a lot of doors in the G League side. And fast forward, I bounced around the G League a little bit, had a solid year in Sioux Falls. But then the last 2 years have been my best 2 years of my career in the G League. And I had never talked to the Lakers before. We played the South Bay Lakers like 4 or 5 times in the G League, and I always felt like I had pretty good showings. And they said, well, would you want to come play Summer League with us? And I got to thinking, and I'm like, ideally, you don't want to be a 30-year-old in Summer League because most of the guys are 22, 23, 24 years old, or it's guys that have played a couple years in the NBA that are still developing. But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, you know what? Like my goal is to play in the NBA. I hadn't got there yet. This opportunity presented itself. Why not go and see if you can make something happen? Give yourself a chance. So that's where I'm at career wise, and I've had great experiences. Like I've been in 6 different countries playing ball. I've been in the G League for multiple teams. But I turned 30. I'm balding, but at the same time, like, I feel like I'm playing the best basketball of my career, and I've never been as more motivated to keep trying to make it. To answer your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we are all rooting for you, and we hope that you're able to fulfill that dream. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck throughout this summer. And at the time of this recording, I mean, you got a game tomorrow, so I'm hoping that tomorrow, I'll take all the credit in the world. If you have a great showing tomorrow, then I'll blame it on Trace if you don't.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, just one more question for you from my side. You mentioned you're 30 years old, and so let's just face it, you played more basketball than you will play basketball. I think that's kind of where you're at. So you have been around some high IQ people from the very get-go. You mentioned your grandfather, and we talked about your dad, of course, Coach D'Antoni, and all the other different guys that you've been around as far as coaching different things. Have you ever considered maybe trying to step into the coaching realm after your playing career is over? And if the opportunity ever came up, whether it be in some capacity as an assistant or whatever, would you ever consider coming back to Marshall if the opportunity lended itself?
I've had this talk with my wife about 8 million times because I don't think she likes moving around and us not having a set location. But the day I am done playing my last game, whether that's a month from now, 3 years from now, who knows? I have no idea. But right now I'm in a place where like I want to chase this basketball thing as long as I feel good and still enjoy the process. And if that ever flatlines or I get 1 ounce of, hey, maybe I don't feel like working on my game today or I don't enjoy it, that day is the day I want to coach. I've already made my mind up. That's the career I want to pursue, my quote second career, if you word it like that. But I want to be a basketball coach, whether that's collegiately or professionally. And, when you first get into the business, whatever role you got to get in, it's a tough business to crack. But whatever role presents itself wherever, if it's a good situation, I would more than happily say yes to that. If that was Marshall, sign me up when the time comes, because there'd be nothing more that I would love than to come back home and coach there. That place is special, to say the least, to me. And I mean, that's home. That's where I met my wife. That's 45 minutes from Charleston. And that's a place that I want to be on the map as a basketball powerhouse. And I know that the game's different now, and the NIL and the budgets and the portal and all that. I don't care. I want Marshall to have success in basketball. And if I can be a part of that one day as a coach, I would sign up on the spot whenever that time comes.
Well, you better
Yeah.
believe we're going to be tagging Gerald Harrison, athletic director, in this episode as it drops, and be like, hey, listen to the back end. Really listen to what he's got to say, because we'd love to see you back here one day. That'd be awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, that would be what a better story could present itself than that. I mean, a great player from Marshall, then a great coach from Marshall. That'd be pretty sweet right there. I think I'm just going to leave with one more question, because I wanted to talk a little bit about, and you mentioned earlier, you said a couple weeks ago or so you worked out with a lot of the new Marshall guys. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on the current era of the Herd. Obviously you're very familiar with Corny. I mean, he was there with you, and it was a big factor for the Herd's success in those days. Now he's the head man. 2 good years under his belt, just not quite getting over the hump yet, but 2 good years. So talk a little bit about just the current era of Marshall basketball and where you see it going in the future.
I mean, first, I got to give Coach Jackson credit. He was super impactful when we were together there. He was as one of the assistants. I think he came over. His first year at Marshall was my junior year, the year that we won the tournament. So got to give him a shout out. And like you said, he was kind of thrown into the fire because he kind of got the job a little late in the cycle, I believe. And then you got to factor in the new portal era, the new new NIL era. So it's like he's had a million things that he's had to adjust to on the fly. And I got to be honest, dude, I've watched probably 90% of the Marshall games since I graduated. So like that's how much the place means to me and the program means to me. And I think he's done a heck of a job. They were 1 game away from winning the conference regular season last year. I know the conference tournament didn't go well, but you also got to factor in they had like half the team was sick, and then Van Komen was hurt. But no, he's done a heck of a job, and I'm excited to see this upcoming year. So this season, I probably played pickup with him 4 or 5 times before I had left for summer league. And there was still a couple of guys that hadn't arrived yet. I think one of them was still maybe in Canada, and one was still finishing up academic stuff somewhere else. But it's a totally different team, man. Last year they had a crazy amount of talent when you think about mid-major basketball. You had Wyatt Fricks, who NBA Summer League, Jalen Spears, who was really good guard in the conference. Noah was one of the most athletic guards in the conference. Matt Van Komen was a force. I know he got hurt and banged up, but like when he was healthy, his impact on the defensive end was incredible. So I think they had a crazy amount of talent last season. I think this season is going to be interesting because you just don't know, like you had a bunch of those guys returning last year, and now you've got, Bryce Slay's back. Will Moore didn't play last year. So like, he's got to get healthy. I don't know his situation this year, but I don't think he's been playing because I don't know if he's healthy. I know Bryce Slay has taken a huge jump weight room wise in the court. When we were playing pickup those sessions, he was one of, if not the best player on the court. So I'm super happy to see his development. But I think they're going to have to do it by committee this year. I'm curious to see who steps up. Like who's their alpha? I don't know. Does somebody step up and take that role as the vocal leader? Or is it like we do it by committee and we all rally together? But the biggest thing I was able to take away from that group in the short time I was there is like, I think they genuinely will compete And by compete, I mean play hard. And I think play hard is kind of a lost art in today's game because it's like, all right, let's run up and down. Like, I think they're a team that's going to have to get into you physically and use that as a weapon. And I think they have the personnel for that because they have some really long and athletic guards that are going to be able to impact the game defensively. But, I just haven't seen enough of them. Like, if I was there every day, I could have a little bit better of an answer. But I'm excited because it's like, all right, I don't know who the alpha is going to be or who's going to be that guy to step up. But I think they do have those weapons to have success with. It's just a matter of, like, can you gel together as fast as possible and play your best basketball towards the end of the year? Because, I mean, one thing about overseas basketball that I've learned is, like, all right, you've got your budget, you build a team, guys have success, they go to a bigger club and get paid more money. You don't have success, you go backwards. So it's like, how do we maximize this team and make the best team available, best team possible this season, and then you do it all again the next season? And I think that's where Marshall really is this year, is because, like, it's a totally new team. I don't know how many new players are there, but when I walk in the gym, I didn't know 90% of them. So it's like, I'm curious to see, can you mesh together and what that ceiling is, because, like, I truly don't know right now, because it's like, how well are you going to gel and how fast can you do that?
Yeah. I mean, this is just the era we live in. Right? From year to year, it's just going to be a totally different roster almost every year. And, Corny's done a good job with recruiting. I know he's hit that Canada pipeline really good the last couple of years. And that's a good, it's a good problem to have. You would obviously like to keep your guys and for more cohesion, but I mean, you're able to get good players, in year out. It's a good thing. So I think they got a good future in store. I really do.
100%.
Yeah. But with that being said, man, I think that pretty much does it. I would also be remiss if I did not mention, I should have started off with this and totally forgot, 2026 Marshall Athletics Hall of Famer, Jon Elmore. I had to say that because I should have let in with that, but I was just going over all your stats, which are crazy, so I just forgot. But I guess if you wanted to make any last comments about that or anything else, you can go ahead. But I had to say that because we congratulate you, and very well deserved honor there.
Well, thank you. No, that I got that call from Mr. Harrison the other day, the new athletic director. I hadn't spoken with him before, so getting to hear that, that was truly special. I mean, when you go to a place like Marshall and you start your first day, you don't necessarily think like Hall of Fame. Like, you just think like, I want to have the best day possible today and then do it again tomorrow, and I want to work as hard as I can today and do it again tomorrow. And in the moment, like, you don't really think. I think this is going to be my 8th year pro. So like 12 years ago when I just first enrolled in Marshall, like, that was never a thought in my mind. It was just like, my goal is to make the most of each day, be a light, be happy, and have as much fun as possible. And all that led to a lot of really fond memories of that place and my time there. So that was kind of the cherry on top, because it was like, man, like, all that hard work and all that time spent and all the memories made it to the Hall of Fame. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, we cannot thank you enough for all the memories that you helped provide for us as fans, and just all you did for Marshall basketball to help put it back on the map, and just all the different things, man. I mean, legit, it's hard to even put into words, because you're one of the giants of Marshall basketball. I'm, like, not trying to hype you up, like, it's just a fact. So we appreciate you greatly, rooting you on, and whatever journey you go on next, playing. I love the fact that you're so passionate about the game. It's gonna be a great day when you go on the Lakers and you drop about 30 on your first night. Can't wait to see it.
Well, thank y'all.
But with that being said, man, go Herd, and we appreciate your time.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one.
You too, man.